Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Sorceress Keter Sanctuary deck profile for May 2021. I would say the Sorceress subclan is a base off of the Magus subclan we had from Oracle Think Tank for the new, overdress format, being a deck that focuses on gaining different card abilities when you reveal different triggers in the deck. I'm very happy with the result. It's the second deck I want to fully build during the overdress format. My first one for Keter Sanctuary, with overdress being my first one for Dragon Empire. Like I said, very happy with the pressure this deck can resolve with all the different card abilities based on revealing different triggers in the deck, with our main go-to grade 3 being Hexa Orb Sorceress and all of the other Sorceress setup we have, along with some of the added backup support from the Divine Sisters in the deck. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the start deck, and for those of you that don't remember the start deck always has to be a different color from the main deck cards, with our starter being Tri-Connect Sorceress, just one of these Sorceress needed for the basic ride deck setup, the grade 0 when wrote upon by your tier square Sorceress. When it's wrote upon by Pentagleam Sorceress, you counterblast 1 to draw a card, which is our go-to grade 2 in the ride deck as well. When this unit is wrote upon by Hexa Orb Sorceress, which is your grade 3, you look at 3 cards from the top of your deck and put them on the top of your deck in any order, which this card is then used to set up the trigger reveal, because then you'll use the drive checks you reveal for your different front and critical triggers to gain different abilities on the field, along with power-up boosts thanks to Hexa Orb Sorceress. So this is your go-to ride deck setup, just having that consistency for all the different cards. And also don't forget, with the starter, having the when wrote upon, if you want second draw a card, just gives you more and more draw power altogether, and initially set up for the main purpose of the ride deck altogether. For the grade 3s in the deck, I also am running 3 Hexa Orb Sorcerers in the main deck, with Persona Ride being one of the important cards for this card. We wanted to max out all the numbers for it. When you drive check and reveal a trigger unit, choose one of your rear guards and it gets plus 10,000 power until end of turn. So the fact that you can just boost up your rear guards for plus 10,000 power, and we do have some cards that can restand in the deck when we reveal a trigger unit, makes it all the better for the consistency of relying on this card for multiple attacks and just basically powering up all of our different rear guards. And on Vanguard Circle, once per turn, if you Persona Road this turn, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, reveal up to 1, critical or front trigger from your hand, put it on the top of your deck, and then you get drive plus 1 until end of turn. So it's not really a plus, but it doesn't really minus you either, with putting a trigger from your hand on the top of your deck, since you're going to reveal it for the additional drive check, and then still have your initial 2 drive checks as well. The only benefit is you'll get those additional trigger units. Let's say the one you placed was the front or critical trigger, and then the next 2 reveals were also, triggers as well, just giving you more and more power boosting for your Hexa Orb's first card ability, and then giving you all the trigger units for your rear guards as well from what you revealed from the triple drive. And also for some of the more added backup grade 3 support, for the Divine Sisters, I'm running 4 Divine Sister Lepisto. On rear guard, when your drive check reveals a trigger unit, counterblast 2, stand this unit and gets plus 5,000 till end of turn. So if you know the guarantee reveal you're going to have with your Hexa Orb Sorceress, you can basically attack first with Lepisto, having Hexa Orb on the Vanguard Circle, and then revealing it when you attack with Hexa Orb, being able to use the counterblast to restand Lepisto for the plus 5, even the plus 10 from Hexa Orb to Lepisto as well, having that additional attack to go for with this card, and then the other additional rear guard also. I only have this as added backup just for the fact that it works very, very well for the playstyle that this deck was meant to do. You can initially have 2 on the rear guards, attack with both first, then if you reveal the trigger unit, and have the counterblast 4. The only thing is, with Hexa Orb's counterblast, it's going to eat up all your counterblasts in this one play, but if you want to go for that play, the potential power boost you get from all the other cards could, just be the game-winning play you need against your opponent, having those 5 different attacks and all the power boost depending on how many triggers you reveal as well. And I also run 2 Grand Heavenly Sword Aiden. It's just good added backup support for being able to call this card, and then counterblast 2, Soul Blast 1, choosing a card from your hand, calling it to rear, and if you call it a grade 3, draw 2 cards, and on rear when it attacks, if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, it gets plus 5,000 power. If you don't want to run Aiden, or it's just not in your budget, you can also just fill in more numbers of Hopeful Testode. I have 2 Aiden and 2 Testode in the deck. If you have 3 or more units, choose one of your units, and it gets plus 15,000 power until end of that battle. So the power boost with this card can come in handy with a bunch of our other different units we're running in the deck. And like I said, it's more affordable than if you were to run Aiden, but you can mix and match any of the numbers you want running for Aiden or for Testode, depending on the player preference of what you want to choose in the deck. And that is it for the grade 3s. Moving on now to the grade 2s. I am still running, Pentagleam Sorceress as a rearguard option, so running 3 of it in the main deck as well. With this card, when placed on rearguard, look at the top card of your deck and put it on the top or bottom of your deck. If you put it on the bottom of your deck, this unit gets plus 2,000 power until end of turn. So it's more set up for Hexa Orb Sorceress. Being able to reveal the top card of your deck and knowing what card it is can give you more plays to go for. And this card has an awesome Vanguard ability, but still a great rearguard ability. Just for even the one reveal, you could be one trigger off, and being able to check that with Pentagleam will make up for you not resolving any of the power boosts that you initially would want with Hexa Orb's first ability, since you have to wait till the Persona ride to get the front or critical trigger placement and additional drive check. And for more of the Divine Sisters, I'm also running 4 Divine Sister Pastelitos on rearguard once per turn. When you drive check reveals a trigger unit, Soul Blast 1, it gets plus 5,000 power to end of turn. So just going off of the trigger reveal, you have the restand power with Lepisto, but this one's still providing a plus 5 along with the plus 10 that Hexa Orbs could basically provide to it. Gives it 25,000 power against your opponent when it's not even being boosted yet with some of the grade 1s you run. So I like it for that option. It's just good for the reliance, because then you have all these different units that benefit from you getting a trigger on the field, whether it be a restand or a power boost. Both of these cards are great rearguard options. And that's it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. Our go-to Sentinel in the deck is Aegis Mare Dragon. Having the option when put on the guard circle, choose one of your units and cannot be hit until end of battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from your hand and discard it. So if the only 2 cards in your hand are Aegis Mare Dragon, you can guard with the first one. And since you only have 1 card in your hand, you will have to discard it for the cost of this card. Then being able to then have the final guard against your opponent. So if your opponent has 2 big attacks going at you, you can guard it with both of the Sentinels without any fear. And I also run, for some of the other grade 1 count, the Divine Sisters. For Divine Sister Tartine, when this unit is placed on rear, Soul Blast 1, rest this unit, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose one from among them, put it on the top of your deck, and the rest on the bottom. So as long as you reveal that trigger unit or an important card, this card is very vital, because then you can just rest this card on your rearguard circle. And as long as you reveal the trigger unit and you have Hexa Orb Sorceress on your Vanguard circle, you can give that plus 10,000 power that Hexa Orb Sorceress would get to the rearguard that will not be getting the boost from Divine Sister Tartine anymore, which at 10,000 power, boost power from the Vanguard is definitely a lot better than the 8k power that this card could have provided. But you can also even just rest this card if you have the cards in your hand, call over it with another unit to provide that boost as well. I like 4 of it just for that added setup for getting the cards prepared on your Vanguard's drive check. And it was in the ride deck, but I'm also running 3 tier square Sorceress when this unit is rode upon. Having that ability for the Vanguard circle on the rear guard once per turn, when you drive check reveals a trigger unit, counter plus 1, choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards and put it on the bottom of the deck. So the grade, it doesn't matter. As long as it's in the front row, you can put it on the bottom of their deck. It doesn't retire, it just places it on the bottom. Great setup for that. And just having this card on the rear guard, you can always rely on that card once per turn when you drive check and reveal a trigger unit. So you'll be getting the front row power boosts or even the restand power while relying on your grade 1 in the back row to take care of your opponent's rear guards. If it's a grade 3 or just something that can't even intercept, you can take care of it quite easily, or even if they choose not to intercept with it, you can get rid of it before they choose to with one of your upcoming attacks. And lastly, for the grade 1s, I just run the 1 Divine Sister Fasciata. With this card, once per turn on rear, when your drive check reveals a trigger unit, you Soul Blast 2 and Countercharge 1. So this card can help to make up for some of the counter blasts that your Lepisto can do, being more ideal to then get the 2 attacks and then the wriststands as well for your Hexa Orb. But I only run 1 because it is pretty costly with the Soul Blast 2 using Soul for a lot of other cards, including Hexa Orb for the Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1. So you just need that 1. If you have it on the field, it's good for that setup and just safe in the back row against your opponent, from attacking it. Obviously, it can still be retired, but still good for that initial setup of Countercharge. And we already ran over the starter in the ride deck. For the trigger lineup, I'm running 4 critical White Fang Witch Disma and 4 White Crow Sorcerer Taxis. These are some of the important ones because of the front trigger reliance and the critical trigger reliance for your Hexa Orb Sorceress. If you wanted to run an additional number, you can take out the draw trigger spot for the next lineup. I'm running 3 draw triggers potentially in the deck, but if you wanted to put in an additional front trigger or critical trigger, this would be the card you take out for that spot, because you do want to have the option with Hexa Orb, but sometimes draw power far. It's pretty good for the deck. There's a lot of reliance and draws with the ride deck combo, but still, as long as you reveal it and you have that trigger unit, you'll gain some of the other benefits in the deck. It's more of the front trigger and the critical trigger that you have to rely on for the setup with Hex Orb. So if you want to take out the draws to stick with that plan, you can do that. And I can't believe I only have 3 of the heal for the Sorceress, which is Circling Sorceress. So I just have the 1 additional draw in the spot here for this card, but you definitely want to run 4 heals as well, with the final trigger in the deck being the over trigger of choice, which is Light Dragon Deity of Honors Amonthon Tanoa, with this card having the 100 million power and the additional effect until the end of the turn. If you performed a drive check for battles, your rear guard attacks. So with it, you have your rear guard attacking and giving your rear guards the additional drive checks. If you have a grade 3 rear guard, just that additional twin drive is that much more scary. And the fact that you could potentially have the option to just have multiple grade 3s on your rear guard for more and more drive checks makes it all the more powerful, because if you reveal the trigger and you have Divine Sister Lepisto on the rear guard, having to restand it again for more attacks also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. For those of you that were a fan of Magus or even just Oracle Think Tank, Genesis overall, and are missing it in the new format with Keter Sanctuary, this is definitely the deck to look into. It gives a big feel for what those decks used to play like. So if you're looking to build something and have it be pretty affordable, this is the one to look into. And until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.